The morning was quiet, but something felt wrong. Mary opened her eyes slowly. The sun was just starting to rise, shining softly through her bedroom window. She had slept well, but now her heart was beating fast. She didn't know why. There was no loud sound, no bad dream, just a strange feeling in her chest. She sat up on her bed and looked around her small room. Everything looked normal. Her shoes were near the door. Her Bible was still on the shelf. The window was closed. The room was silent. Then she heard it. A whisper. It was soft, like wind passing through leaves, but it said her name. Mary. Her eyes grew wide. She froze. "Who's there?" she asked, her voice shaky. There was no answer, just silence again. She got out of bed slowly and opened her bedroom door. The hallway was empty. No one was there. She walked to the living room. It looked the same. The clock ticked quietly on the wall. The fridge hummed in the kitchen. Mary lived alone. She had lived alone for 5 years. No one else had a key to her house. She always locked the doors. Always, but today. The front door was unlocked. She stared at it. "I'm sure I locked it last night," she whispered to herself. She checked the handle again. Yes, it was unlocked. Her hands began to shake a little. Something was not right. Then she saw the table. There was a piece of paper on it. Just a plain white paper with black writing on it. She didn't remember putting it there. She walked closer slowly, her heart thumping. The note said, "Don't step out today. Listen first. That's all, just one line." But it shook her to her core. Her eyes went back to the door. Who came in? Why? What did they mean? Was it a joke? A warning? A threat? Or something else? She looked around again. Nothing else seemed touched. Nothing was missing. No broken windows. No mess. Just that one note. And the whisper. She sat down, holding the paper in her hand. It didn't look old. The ink was fresh. Someone had been in her house. Was it a thief, she thought? Or something worse? But then another thought came to her mind, one she didn't want to say out loud. Was it God? She shook her head. "No," she told herself, "I must be tired. Maybe I forgot to lock the door. Maybe I wrote the note and forgot." But she knew that wasn't true. She would never write something like that. And she never left her door open. She picked up her phone to call her sister, but the screen was black. The phone wouldn't turn on. It was fully charged last night. Now it was dead. Her hands were cold. Her breathing was fast. She walked to the kitchen and turned on the tap. She washed her face with cold water, trying to wake herself up more. "Maybe I'm dreaming," she said to the mirror. Then something strange happened. The kitchen light flickered, just for a second. Then she heard it again, the whisper. This time it was closer. "Mary," she dropped the towel from her hand. "I'm not crazy," she said, trying to be strong. "I know what I heard." Her mind was racing. What should she do? Should she go outside? Should she stay in? What if someone was watching her? She went back to the living room and looked out the window. Everything looked normal. Kids were walking to school. A man was jogging with his dog. Cars moved down the road. But inside her, it didn't feel normal. She looked back at the note. "Don't step out today. Listen first." She felt confused. Who wanted her to listen? And listen to what? Suddenly, a memory came back to her. Her mother. She used to say, "God always speaks before danger. You just have to be quiet and listen." Mary had forgotten that. It had been years since her mother passed away. Her eyes filled with tears. She looked up and whispered, "Is that you, Mom? Are you trying to warn me?" Of course, there was no answer. Just the ticking clock and the soft hum of the fridge. But something inside her told her to wait. She sat on the couch, still holding the note. She didn't know what to do next, but she knew one thing. Today was not a normal day. There was something more, something bigger than she could see. She looked at the time. It was 7:15 a.m. She had a meeting at work at 9 hours. Normally, she would be getting ready by now. But today she couldn't move. She felt like something was holding her back. "God, if this is you," she whispered, "please tell me what to do." Just then, the wind blew strong against the window. A branch tapped hard on the glass, making her jump. Her heart was beating fast again. She knew she couldn't leave the house. Not yet. She had to wait. She had to listen. And so she did. She sat in silence, waiting for whatever was coming next. Because, deep in her heart, Mary knew one thing was true. This warning was real, and it might just save her life. Mary didn't leave the house that morning. She sat quietly on her couch, holding the strange note in her hand. "Don't step out today. Listen first." Her heart still felt heavy. The whisper, the open door, the note, all of it felt too real to ignore. Something was happening, and deep inside, Mary felt it was not just random. She decided to stay home, even though she had a meeting at work. She called her manager using her landline, since her phone was still dead. "I'm not feeling well," she said softly. "I need to stay in today." Her manager didn't ask questions. "Take care," he said. After that, Mary walked to the bathroom. Her face looked pale. Her eyes had dark circles under them. She hadn't slept well in days. And now this strange morning made her feel even more tired. She turned on the shower, hoping warm water would calm her. But something strange happened again. As the steam filled the bathroom, Mary noticed something on the mirror. Words. At first, they were hard to see. The steam was thick, but slowly the message became clear. "God is trying to tell you something." Mary gasped and stepped back. The words were written on the foggy mirror, like someone had written them before the steam came. She hadn't written them. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes filled with tears again. She whispered, "Is this really happening?" She wiped the mirror with her hand, but the words were still there, faint but visible. She stared at them. "God is trying to tell you something. What does God want to tell me?" she asked softly. She sat down on the edge of the bathtub, holding her head in her hands. "I'm not crazy," she told herself again. Her eyes moved to the cabinet next to the mirror. Inside, she had medicine, soaps, and, at the bottom, a small Bible. She hadn't touched it in years. It was her mother's Bible. With slow hands, she picked it up and opened it. A small paper was folded inside. She didn't remember putting it there. She opened the paper. It had a verse written in her mother's handwriting. "He will protect you from all harm. He will watch over your life." Psalm 121, Seth. Mary's lips trembled as she read the words. It felt like her mother was speaking to her, like she had left this message for this exact moment. She looked up and whispered, "Thank you, Mom. I think I understand now." Still holding the Bible, she walked back to the living room. She opened the verse in the book itself. As she turned, the pages, one page stood out. The corner was folded. It was Psalm 91. She began to read it slowly. "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge." Tears rolled down Mary's cheeks. These were not just words. They were comfort. They were protection. They were a message. Someone, or something, was watching over her and warning her. She sat there for a long time, reading the whole chapter again and again. The words made her feel safe, like she wasn't alone. After some time, she stood up and walked to her bedroom. She needed to rest. Her mind had been through so much already. As she lay on her bed, she noticed something strange on her phone. It was on. Even though it was dead before. She picked it up. The screen was lit. A Bible app had opened by itself. And the verse on the screen? Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. She dropped the phone on the bed, her heart racing again. Okay, God, she whispered. I'm listening. It was quiet in the room again, but this time the silence felt peaceful, not scary. She closed her eyes and began to pray. God, I don't know what's happening, she whispered, but I feel you near me. Please guide me. Please keep me safe. Please help me understand what you want to say. Suddenly, a strong wind blew through the window. Even though it was closed, the curtains moved like someone had walked past them. Mary didn't feel fear this time. She felt something else, presence, like someone was truly there with her. She opened her eyes and looked around. Nothing had changed in the room, but the air felt different, warmer, kinder, like love was filling the space. Mary knew something for sure now. God was near, and he was trying to speak. She got out of bed and walked to the window. She opened it slowly and looked outside. The world looked the same. Cars passed, people walked. Life was normal, but her life was not normal anymore. Something had started, something she couldn't fully see yet. But she was ready now. She would wait. She would listen. She would follow. Because God was trying to tell her something important, and she didn't want to miss it. The day passed slowly. Mary stayed inside, just like the note had said. Don't step out today. Listen first. She read the Bible verses again and again. The whisper, the foggy mirror, the Bible verse on her phone, all of it felt like signs. Mary still didn't understand everything, but she was sure of one thing. God was warning her. She prayed quietly and asked for peace. She didn't feel afraid anymore, but she still felt unsure. What was she supposed to do next? That's when it happened. A loud knock on the front door. Knock, knock, knock. Mary froze. She wasn't expecting anyone. No one had called. No one knew she stayed home from work. She didn't even order anything. The knock came again. This time, louder. Knock, knock, knock. Her heart started to race. She stood up slowly, walked to the door, and looked through the peephole. Man was standing there. He looked calm. He wore a black jacket. His hands were by his sides. He didn't have a package. He didn't seem nervous. His eyes looked kind, but also serious. Mary didn't open the door. She spoke through it. Yes? She asked. Who are you? The man didn't move. He simply said, Don't go out. God sent me. Mary's heart stopped for a moment. What did you say? She asked again. He repeated softly, Don't go out today. God sent me to tell you. Mary couldn't believe. Her ears. Those were the same words on the note. Who are you? What do you want? She asked, her voice shaking. But the man didn't answer. He just gave a soft smile, then he turned around and walked away. Mary waited a few seconds. Then, she quickly opened the door and stepped outside, but the man was gone. She looked left. She looked right. No one. It was like he disappeared. She ran to the edge of the street and looked down the road. Still no one, just empty sidewalks and quiet trees. How could he vanish so fast? She whispered. She stepped back inside quickly and locked the door. Her hands were shaking again. She sat on the floor, breathing heavily. Who was that? She thought. How did he know what the note said? She picked up her phone to call her sister, but again the screen was black. Her phone had died once more. She sat there trying to make sense of everything. A knock, a stranger, a message from God? Was he an angel? Was he a real man? Was she dreaming? Her eyes filled with tears again. I'm not crazy, she whispered. Something is really happening. Then she remembered her neighbor, Mrs. Clara, who lived next door. Maybe she had seen the man. Maybe he walked past her house. Mary walked to her window and looked through the curtains. Mrs. Clara was outside watering her plants. Mary quickly walked to the back door, stepped outside, and waved. "Mrs. Clara," she called. "Did you see someone just now? A man in a black jacket?" Clara looked up. "No, dear. I've been here the whole time. I didn't see anyone near your house." "No one knocked on my door?" Clara shook her head. "Not that I saw." Mary nodded slowly and went back inside. She felt confused again. How could a man knock, speak to her, and disappear without being seen? She walked back to her living room and sat down again. She remembered the words, "Don't go out. God sent me." If she had doubted before, she didn't. Now, this was not just in her head. Someone, maybe even God himself, was protecting her. But from what? She looked at the clock. It was 4 p.m. The whole day had passed in silence, messages, and mystery. Mary felt tired but wide awake inside. This was not just a normal day. This was something holy, something powerful, something bigger than her. She opened the Bible again and began to read the same verse that had been shown to her in the morning. "Be still and know that I am God." Psalm 46:10. She read it slowly, letting each word touch her heart. Then she whispered to the quiet room, "I believe you're speaking to me, Lord. I believe you're trying to save me from something. I will listen." A soft breeze moved through the room. Even though all the windows were closed, Mary smiled for the first time that day. Something strange had happened, something unexplainable. But it didn't feel scary anymore. It felt like love. That night, Mary lay in bed but couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the man at the door, his voice, his calm eyes, and those same words again. "Don't go out. God sent me." Mary closed her eyes and prayed. "God, I don't understand everything, but I trust you. Please show me what you want me to see." Soon, she fell into a deep sleep. But her sleep didn't feel like rest. It felt like something else. A dream began. But it didn't feel like a normal dream. It felt real. So real. In the dream, she was standing on a busy street. Cars rushed by. People hurried in every direction. She stood still in the middle of the sidewalk. Everyone around her seemed in a hurry, but their faces were blurry. She couldn't see their eyes or expressions. They didn't speak. They just walked fast, like they didn't even see her. Suddenly, the sky grew dark. The sound of the cars faded. The people stopped walking. Then she saw a tall shadow ahead of her. It was coming closer. Her heart started beating fast. She wanted to run, but her feet wouldn't move. The shadow stopped in front of her. Then a voice spoke, a deep, powerful voice. "You were not meant to be out here today." Mary looked up but couldn't see the face. It was covered in light. "If you had stepped out, your life would have changed forever." Mary tried to speak but couldn't. Her lips wouldn't move. The voice continued, "There are battles you cannot see, dangers you do not know. That is why I sent warnings." Then suddenly the dream shifted. She was now standing in her living room, but it was quiet, dark, no light, no sound, no furniture, only her. Then, in the mirror on the wall, words appeared. "Stay close to me. Danger passes when you wait on me." Mary stepped closer to the mirror. Her own reflection stared back at her. But something was different. The reflection had wings, white, glowing wings like an angel, and then the reflection spoke. "You were protected today. But this is only the beginning." Mary gasped in the dream. "Beginning of what?" she asked. The reflection answered, "You will soon face a choice. One will lead to peace, the other to pain. Listen for the voice. The voice will guide you. Suddenly, everything around her started shaking. The mirror cracked. The floor broke apart. Mary screamed. Then she woke up. Her body was covered in sweat. Her breathing was fast. It was 3:03 a.m. She sat up, shaking, trying to calm down. It was just a dream, she told herself. But it didn't feel like just a dream. It felt like a message. She turned on the lamp beside her bed and walked to the mirror in her room. It was still whole, no cracks. But something caught her eye. On the corner of the mirror, fog had gathered, even though it wasn't cold. And in that fog, she saw 3 words. "It is time." Mary stepped back, her heart racing again. What does that mean? She whispered. She walked to the kitchen to drink water. Her hands were still shaking. She sat down at the table and stared at the wall. She remembered what the angel in her dream had said. You will soon face a choice. One will lead to peace, the other to pain. She had no idea what choice they meant, but she knew one thing. This wasn't over. God was still speaking, and something more was coming. Later that morning, just as the sun began to rise, Mary's phone turned on again by itself. No charger, no touch. The screen lit up, and a new notification popped up. New message, unknown number. The message said, "Meet me at the church, 7 p.m. Come alone." Mary stared at the screen. No name, no contact. No details, just those few words. She didn't know if she should go. But deep in her heart, she felt she had to. All day, Mary felt nervous. The message kept repeating in her mind, "Meet me at the church, 7 p.m. Come alone." Who sent it? What did they want? And why the church? She didn't have the answers. But her heart told her. This was connected to everything. The whisper in the morning, the words in the mirror, the stranger at the door, the dream with the angel. It was all part of the same voice, the same warning. Mary held her mother's Bible in her hands. She opened it and whispered, "God, if this is you, I'll go, but please be with me. Don't let me be alone." Time passed slowly. At 6:30 p.m., the sky outside turned orange and soft. The sun began to drop, painting the clouds gold and pink. Mary put on a long coat. She held the Bible close to her chest. Then she stepped out, for the first time since the warning. The air felt different, quiet, still. She walked down the road, her heart beating fast. The old church was only 10 minutes away, small stone walls and a wooden door. She used to go there as a child with her mother. But tonight, it felt like the church was waiting for her. When Mary reached the front steps, she stopped and looked up. The wooden door was slightly open. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. It was quiet inside the church. Empty benches, dim light, no music, just silence. She looked around. "Hello?" she called. No answer. She walked slowly down the aisle, the sound of her footsteps echoing. Then, from the front pew, a voice spoke. "You came." Mary stopped. Her eyes widened. A man sat there, wearing the same black jacket as the stranger at her door. It was him, the same calm eyes, the same quiet face. She didn't speak. She just stared. He stood up and smiled softly. "You were brave to come," he said. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice shaking. The man didn't answer directly. Instead, he said, "You've been hearing things, seeing things, feeling something stronger than fear." Mary nodded slowly. "Yes, all week." He stepped closer. "Because something has been watching you, but not to harm you, to protect you." Mary clutched her Bible. "Are you an angel?" The man smiled but didn't answer. He said, "There is danger in your life, an unseen danger. That's why the signs came. That's why you were told not to step out." "What kind of danger?" she whispered. He pointed to the cross on the wall. "A spiritual danger. Not from people, but from the darkness that hides in silence. You were being pulled toward it." Mary felt a chill run down her spine. She thought of the dream, the shaking floor, the voice, the choice. "What choice do I have to make?" she asked. The man walked to a small table in the front of the church. On it was a candle, half burned. He lit it again. Then he looked at her. "The choice is simple. Step into the light or stay in the dark." Mary didn't understand. "But I haven't done anything wrong." He nodded. "It's not about right or wrong. It's about truth. You've been walking through life alone. You've been trying to fix everything by yourself." Mary lowered her head. It was true. She had spent years hiding her pain, pretending to be strong, fighting her silent battles. "No more pretending," he said. Then he stepped back and looked her in the eye. "This is your moment. God is waiting for your answer. Will you trust him? Will you surrender everything?" Mary's hands trembled. Tears filled her eyes. She felt like time had stopped, like the whole church was holding its breath. She walked slowly to the front. She knelt by the candle. She whispered, "Yes, God, I choose you. I choose light. I choose truth." Suddenly, the wind outside roared. The candle flickered but didn't go out, and from above, a soft light shined down through the church's high window. It landed on Mary like a gentle touch. She closed her eyes. Her tears fell. Freely now, not from fear but from peace. When she looked up again, the man was gone. No sound. No footsteps. No goodbye. Just silence and peace. Mary stood up slowly. Her heart felt light. Her spirit felt calm. She looked around the church once more. Then she walked outside. The sun had fully set. The sky was dark now, but her path felt clear. Mary walked home from the church with a calm heart. The choice was made. She had said yes to God. She had chosen the light. She had let go of fear and trusted the voice. But something inside told her this wasn't the end. That night, as Mary sat by her window, a strong wind began to blow outside. The trees shook. The lights in her home flickered. Dark clouds filled the sky. A storm was coming. Mary closed the window and whispered, "Lord, please be near. Whatever this is, I'm listening." Suddenly, a loud crash shook the house. Thunder roared like a shout from the heavens. Lightning lit up the night sky, flashing bright against her walls. Then the power went out. The whole house went dark. Mary grabbed a flashlight and lit a candle. She sat on the couch and held her Bible tight. As she waited in the silence, she remembered the man's words, "This is only the beginning. You will face a choice." She had made the choice. But what came next? Outside, the wind grew stronger. The storm was no longer just outside. It felt like it was coming for her. Then the phone rang. Mary jumped. The screen lit up, despite the power being out. The caller ID said, "Unknown number." She picked it up, her hands shaking. "Hello?" she whispered. There was no voice, just soft static. She listened closely. Then, deep inside the static, she heard a whisper, a familiar whisper. "He's coming. You must not speak. Only listen." Mary's heart stopped. "Who's coming?" she asked. "What do I do?" The static grew louder. Then the call ended. Mary sat frozen, the phone still in her hand. Outside, the wind howled like a warning. Then she heard it. A knock. At the door. Knock. 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 Her body tensed. Not again. Another knock. Then silence. She stood up slowly, took the candle, and walked toward the door. She didn't open it. She just listened. Then came a voice, deep and smooth. "Mary, open the door." "I know what you've seen. I know what you've heard." She froze. The voice was calm, but heavy. It didn't feel warm. It felt cold. Strange. The voice continued. "You've been fooled. These signs, they are not from God. They are tricks. Come with me, and I'll show you the real truth." Mary backed away from the door. Her spirit felt heavy. The peace she had at church was fading. She remembered the dream. One path leads to peace, the other to pain. She didn't open the door. She didn't answer the voice. She walked back to the living room, lit another candle, and knelt beside the couch. She closed her eyes. "Lord, is this the choice? Is this the moment? Help me know what's right." Suddenly, a wind blew through the room, inside the house, though the windows were closed. The candlelight flickered, but stayed strong. Then she heard a soft whisper, not from outside, but from within. "Be still and do not move. I am with you." The knocking stopped. The wind outside died down. The house went still. Mary opened her eyes. Her heart was calm again. She walked to the window carefully and looked outside. The street was empty. No person, no voice, no shadow. It was like the storm had passed. She went back inside and sat in silence. Then her Bible, lying on the table, flipped open by itself. Mary walked over. The pages had stopped on Psalm 91. She read aloud, "He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His truth will be your shield." Tears filled her eyes. She knew now God had protected her again. The voice outside the door was not from him. It was a test, a final test to see if she would stay strong. Mary smiled. She had listened. She had chosen the right voice, and because of that, she was safe. But deep inside, she knew more was still to come. The storm had passed. The wind was quiet. The night was calm again, but Mary couldn't sleep. She sat at the table, holding her Bible, replaying every moment. The knock on the door, the strange voice, the warning to not speak, just listen. It had all felt so real, so close, and yet she had stayed strong. She didn't open the door. She chose to trust the voice from within, the one that brought peace. As the sky began to lighten with early morning, Mary whispered, "Thank you, God. I didn't understand, but you helped me choose right." Then something caught her attention. Soft sound, a soft tap like paper sliding across the floor. Mary turned. A white envelope had appeared near the front door. No footsteps. No knock. Just the envelope. She walked over slowly. On the front, her name was written in blue ink. Mary, for today. She picked it up. The paper felt old, like it had been written years ago. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a letter. She unfolded it and began to read. "My dearest Mary, if you are reading this, then the time has come. The time I always knew would arrive. You have seen things you don't understand. You've heard voices, had dreams. This is not by accident." Mary's eyes widened. The handwriting looked familiar. She read on. "When you were a baby, I prayed a special prayer over you. I asked God to speak to you clearly when the time of danger came. I asked him to send signs, to guide you, to protect you. That prayer has lived on all these years." Tears filled Mary's eyes. The letter was from her mother. Her mother had died. When Mary was just 13, she had almost forgotten her voice. But now, it came back through these words. "I knew I wouldn't be with you forever. But I wanted you to know. There would come a day when your spirit would be tested, when lies would sound like truth, when darkness would knock on your door and wear the face of peace. Mary covered her mouth. The words described exactly what she had faced. But don't be afraid. If you stay still, listen for his voice, and trust him, the truth will always find you. The world will offer quick answers, but only one voice brings true peace. Follow that voice. She could barely breathe. The letter was like a bridge, from the past to the present, from her mother's love to God's plan. One more thing, Mary. When the seventh day comes, go to the garden behind the church. Dig beneath the old stone with the cross. What you find will help you for what's still to come. Mary stood up suddenly. The seventh day? She counted backward. The day she first heard the whisper, the dream, the warning. Today was the seventh day. It was time. Without waiting, she got dressed, folded the letter, and carefully placed it in her coat pocket. The sun had risen. The sky was light blue and quiet. She walked quickly toward the church, heart pounding, the letter burning in her thoughts. The small stone church stood still in the morning air, just as she remembered it. Behind the building was an old garden, wild and untended. Weeds, vines, broken benches. But in the middle of it all was a stone with a cross carved into it. Mary fell to her knees and began to dig beside the stone, using her hands. The dirt was cold and soft, then her fingers hit something, hard. A small box, wooden, covered in dust. Locked with a simple clasp, Mary opened it. Inside, she found another letter, wrapped around a golden key. She read the short message. Use this key when the final door appears. It will not open with force, only with faith. Mary stared at the key. It was warm in her hand. She didn't know what door it would open, but she knew she would need it soon. She stood up and whispered, "Thank you, Mom. Thank you, God." And then she heard a sound behind her, a soft voice. "You found it. Good." Mary turned quickly. A woman stood at the edge of the garden. She was older, wearing a soft gray coat. Her eyes were kind but serious. Mary asked, "Who are you?" The woman smiled gently. "Someone who waited 7 days to see if you would choose the light." Mary froze. The woman stepped closer. "You've passed every test, but one final test remains." "What kind of test?" Mary asked. The woman looked toward the sunrise. "The kind that doesn't come with warning. The kind that asks for full trust, even when nothing makes sense." Then she handed Mary a small card. On it were 4 simple words. Midnight. The final door. The sun had set. The house was quiet, but her heart was loud. Every part of her life felt different now. She had seen things, felt things, heard things that she could never explain. She had faced fear. She had heard lies and truth. She had chosen light over darkness. But one more moment still waited. One final test. One final door. Mary looked at the card again. 4 words written in soft black ink. Midnight. The final door. What door? Where would it appear? She waited. The clock moved slowly. 45 p.m. 11:50 p.m. 11:55 p.m. The world outside was silent. No wind, no sound, just waiting. Then, at 12 us sharp, the lights flickered, the ground trembled, and from the far side of her living room wall, a door began to appear. It was not like any normal door. It glowed with soft white light. It had no handle, just a small, round lock in the center. Mary stood up slowly. She knew what to do. She reached into her pocket and took out the golden key. It felt warm in her hand again, just like before. She walked to the glowing door and whispered, "God, I trust you." Then she placed the key into the lock. Click. The door opened slowly. Light poured out from inside, not bright or painful, but peaceful, soft. She stepped forward and crossed the doorway. She was no longer in her house. She stood in a place that looked like a garden, beautiful, quiet, full of golden light. But it didn't feel like Earth. It felt like something between heaven and time. A voice spoke, not from a person, but from everywhere. It was the same voice she heard in her dream. The voice that whispered truth. "Welcome, Mary. You have chosen well." She didn't speak. She just listened. Few walk the full path. Few stay when the voices grow loud. You stayed. You listened. You believed. Mary felt tears in her eyes. "What is this place?" The voice answered gently, "This is the place where answers live. You came for truth, and now truth will meet you." Then, before her, a large book appeared, floating in the air. The book of her life. The pages turned slowly. She saw moments from her past, her as a child, holding her mother's hand, her crying alone in her room after her mother died, her walking through life, smiling on the outside, but breaking inside. Then came the last few pages, the whisper, the angel in the dream, the warning, the storm, the key, the letter, the final door. Tears streamed down her face. She whispered, "I didn't know what I was doing. I was so scared." The voice answered, "You didn't need to understand. You only needed to trust." Mary dropped to her knees. "I made mistakes," she said. "I doubted. I almost gave up." "But you didn't," the voice said. "You followed my voice. And that is why you are here." Then a question came. "Mary, will you carry this voice to others?" She looked up. "What do you mean?" "There are others, just like you, afraid, confused, lost. They are waiting for someone to guide them, someone who has walked through fear and found faith." Mary stood up slowly. "Yes," she said. "I will." The voice replied, "Then return and speak. Tell them what you have seen. Share the truth. Don't let fear win." A bright light surrounded her. She felt herself lifted, carried, returned. Mary woke up on her couch. The glowing door was gone. The golden key lay beside her. But she wasn't afraid. She was stronger now, wiser, awake. She picked up her Bible and opened it. The first verse she saw read, "Go into all the world and speak the truth. Do not be afraid, for I am with you." She smiled. That morning, Mary wrote everything down. The whisper, the dream, the angel, the storm, the door, the voice. She turned it into a letter, then another, then many, and she began to visit people, one by one, quiet homes, lonely hearts. She gave them each a letter, and each letter began with the same words. "Before you step out today, hear what God wants you to know first."